In this game, we're going to take a look at the power of counterattacks in chess and when is the time where you have to go for a counterattack. When's the best time? Well, you go for a counterattack ideally anytime you get a chance. If you can calculate correctly, it's better than defending. But when do you have to go look for a counterattack? You have to look for a counterattack when you have no more defensive options. So if you're looking at a game and you can't defend a certain attack or a certain threat, well, instead of just, a lot of players will actually, like, it sounds crazy, but they'll just try to defend it anyway or just play a random move. That's the point where you have to go look at the other side of the board or look for something else of equal higher value of your opponents and start attacking that and generate some attack that's equal or more than the attack that they're bringing to you. Hence, a counterattack, right? So here, it looks like a pretty even game, which it is. My opponent starts attacking on the queen side, and I start rerouting my knight to the king side. This is a useful knight because it can attack my opponent, it unleashes my bishop, and it's also a defensive piece. So every time I make a move in chess, it's not for no reason. I'm trying to use a couple ideas for one move. Okay, so knight g6, and now my opponent's making some pawn breaks on the queen side. So I just ignore that and develop. My opponent goes for more pawn breaks or pawn pushes. And now I just play h6. This is a useful move in general because it gives some air for my king. So later on in the game, I won't get back rank checkmated, so I can guarantee myself that. And I'm taking away this square if I ever need to. So, okay, here my opponent really going for the queen side. So I push here, and my opponent wins a pawn. So my opponent wins a pawn, has a passed pawn, and this pawn's pretty weak. So my opponent's going to probably, I would think, attack this pawn. And I say I think because I already played this game, so I know what my opponent's going to do. So there you go. So first of all, I try to get this pawn back, and at the very least stop it so it doesn't queen. So I'm just keeping an eye on this pawn. My opponent defends it correctly, and now I shoot my knight. I shoot my knight out on an adventure, out on a journey, if you will, and its job is to get the king. So here my opponent plays knight a4 and going for this pawn, but not just going for the pawn. He's going for the pawn. Let's say I just play a random move, and he attacks, it forks my two rooks. So that's a problem. And really, I can't defend this. So here we go, the theme of the video. So if I try to defend it, I mean, there's a lot of things he can do. Like, let's say he can't take it right away, but he can, start playing something like this. And then if I don't defend the right way, now he's pushing, and now he gets this anyway, but now his pawn's even further up the board. Really, I really can't stop my opponent from taking on b6. So here I had to find a counterattack. Because if you can't defend, it's the last resort. You have to find a counterattack. So what do you think I played here? Pause your videos. In this position, I played knight g4. Now, it's not the best, but it's basically the best. Actually, the computer now is saying it's pretty much even. It's either number 1 or 2 best move. The computer recommends bishop g4, attacking the queen, and knight g4, which is what I played. So we'll go with knight g4. So what's my point here? The point is, after my opponent takes, which is what he did, because it looks like knight g4 isn't even a threat, which in itself it isn't. So knight g4 looks like a ridiculous move. My opponent's like, I'm grabbing a pawn, and I still am forking the rooks. Not to mention I have 2 passed pawns, so I won the game. However, what my opponent doesn't know is he doesn't know how to analyze a chess position as good as me, I guess, because I'm actually winning in this position. Computer has it more than minus 1.19. So here I played queen g5, excuse me. And now, hopefully, it becomes evident to my opponent what I was going to do. So if my opponent played g3 here, which is actually better than what most people I think would play here. It's not an easy position or it's not an easy threat to see, but if my opponent goes ahead and takes the rook, there's a couple of things here. my main threat was just taking on e3. Now, taking on e3, what is that doing? I'm threatening to checkmate the king, so that's the priority to stop, but also I'm attacking the queen. So what happens if you stop it? I win the queen, and if you protect your queen, you get checkmated, so this is a winning position. So even though my opponent, just from looking for counterplay and looking for more a higher value attack, basically, I'm the one who actually is attacking. So my opponent thought he was attacking and he had the threats, but I'm actually the one that has the threats. This is not a threat anymore. He has to go on the defensive or look for a counterattack at some point. Right now, he has to go purely on the defensive. So my opponent saw this and played g3. The problem is I saw that too. So after g3, which is almost forced, he has actually other moves, but that's basically forced to stop the mate. Now I could sneak my knight in here, f3 check. And now after the king moves away, I take. Now I don't play queen h5. It is possible, but I didn't want to play it because of this. I didn't want to get my queen stuck. Here I actually can just go on the onslaught because I have such a good position, a good attack that I can actually just do this, and after a take, I'm actually fine here. But here I just played it safe. I just took the knight, took the pawn on h2 with the knights. After the rook came, now I switched my queen to h5. Notice how this whole time, white has no shot, no chance. He used all this energy, all this time to get his knight over here, to fork my rooks, and by not paying attention to it and to go on for my own attack, it's white that has to go on the defensive, and he'll have no time to ever take these rooks. They have nothing to do with the position at this point. So he finally did take the rook, and that landed him in checkmate in one move. So there you go. Taking the rook is poison, and he had to go on the defensive there. But what should he have done here after queen h5? The best move is actually to take the rook, and after I throw in the check, come back to f1. Now, this is a completely winning position, but at least I'm not winning on the spot. I would have to play bishop g4 here. Bishop g4 sets up a discovery against the queen. It's also taking away, when the knight moves, a flight square for the king. So in other words, if the queen moves away here, I can do something like this, attack the queen, take the flight square away from the king. So this is checkmate if I come here. And my opponent obviously is in a horrendous position. Well, there you go. Hopefully you found that video helpful. If you have no more defense, if you can't defend, there's no reason to try to defend something that's undefendable. Look for a counterattack. Counterattacks are always useful, but they're necessary when you have no more defense in your position. Anyway, hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, check out this video, and I'll catch you next time. Go play some chess.